The stars outside the viewport looked calm, but Captain Elias Ward knew that peace in deep space was always temporary. The Horizon's spear drifted quietly beyond the borders of explored territory, its engines humming like a giant heartbeat. The crew of 30 humans had been sent to investigate strange energy readings near an uncharted region that alien maps called the Silent Veil. Elias stood on the bridge, hands behind his back, eyes fixed on the glowing data screens. "Anything yet, Lieutenant?" he asked. "Nothing solid, sir," replied Lieutenant Mara Chen. "Just energy fluctuations. They look artificial, but there's no sign of a ship." Elias frowned. "Keep scanning. If something's hiding out there, I want to see it before it sees us." For hours, the crew worked in tense silence. Outside, the stars shimmered against the black. Then suddenly, the ship's alarm shrieked. "Contact. Multiple signatures, closing fast," shouted the sensor officer. On the screens, massive objects appeared, sleek, organic-looking ships, each one the size of a small moon. They glowed with eerie blue veins as if alive. "Raise shields," Elias barked. "Broadcast a friendly signal, standard galactic greeting protocol." But before anyone could respond, a wave of light washed over the Horizon's spear. Every system flickered out. Lights dimmed, consoles died, and gravity faltered for a heartbeat. "EMP," Mara gasped. "Something worse," Elias muttered. "We're caught," a cold voice suddenly echoed through the bridge speakers. It was musical yet sharp, like glass breaking underwater. "Human vessel, you have entered the domain of the Zareth Dominion. You will surrender immediately. Resistance is death." Elias steadied his breath. "This is Captain Elias Ward of the Terran Union Fleet. We mean no harm. But the voice cut him off. "You will not speak until commanded. Prepare for boarding." The crew exchanged fearful glances. Elias gave a small nod. "Everyone stay calm. No sudden moves. If they wanted us dead, we'd already be space dust." Moments later, the hull of the Horizon's spear trembled. Strange shapes pierced through the walls, liquid metal forming into doors. From them stepped tall figures in armor that shimmered like liquid crystal. Their eyes glowed with soft light, their movements silent and precise. The Zareth warriors surrounded the humans. They carried no visible weapons, yet the air around them pulsed with dangerous energy. One of them spoke, its voice echoing directly inside the humans' minds. "By order of Her Radiant Majesty, you will be taken to the flagship for judgment." "Judgment?" Mara whispered. "For what?" "For existing in her space," another alien replied coldly. Elias raised his hand slowly. "Fine, we'll go peacefully. But understand this, humans don't bow easily." The nearest Zareth tilted its head slightly, almost curious. Then the humans were led away. Hours later, Elias found himself standing in a vast hangar bay inside the alien mothership. It stretched for kilometers, lit by pulsating light veins running along the walls. The air smelled of ozone and strange chemicals. Dozens of alien ships rested in perfect formation, guarded by more warriors. His crew stood nearby, surrounded but unharmed. He could feel their fear, though no one spoke it aloud. "This place," whispered Engineer Cade. "It's like a living creature." Elias nodded. The walls seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting with a faint rhythm. The Zareth ships truly were alive, grown, not built. Soon a group of high-ranking aliens approached. Their armor glowed brighter, their eyes like molten silver. One of them stepped forward, her voice commanding. "Captain Elias Ward, you are ordered to stand before Her Radiant Majesty, Queen Sarathia of the Zareth Dominion." Elias met her gaze without flinching. "And what does your queen want with us?" "That is not for you to ask. Only to obey." Two guards took him by the arms, guiding him through massive corridors. The path was silent except for a soft hum that vibrated in his bones. Every step felt heavier, every turn stranger. The walls were smooth and warm to the touch, covered in glowing veins that pulsed in time with his heartbeat. Finally, they reached two colossal doors. The metal rippled like water as they opened. Elias stepped inside and froze. The throne hall was breathtaking. The ceiling rose hundreds of meters, covered in translucent crystal that reflected colors like oil on water. Floating orbs drifted lazily through the air, casting soft light on the gathered crowd of alien nobles. At the far end stood a throne grown from pure light. Upon it sat the Queen of Zareth. Sarathia was unlike anything Elias had ever seen. Her body seemed partly physical, partly energy, tall and slender, her skin shimmering like pearl. Her eyes glowed violet, and her voice carried through the hall like music wrapped in thunder. When she looked at him, Elias felt as if the air was being pulled from his lungs. "So," she said softly, "this is the creature called human." He forced himself to stand tall. "Captain Elias Ward of the Terran Union, I come in peace." "Peace," she repeated, almost tasting the word. "A fragile thing for a species born of war," the court murmured. Her words carried both insult and fascination. Elias kept his tone calm. "War taught us to value peace, Your Majesty." The Queen tilted her head slightly. "Interesting, your kind. You crossed the stars despite being so young, so weak, yet you endure." She leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "Tell me, Captain, why?" Elias blinked. "Why do we endure?" "Yes, why do you keep struggling even when the universe crushes you?" He hesitated. No one had ever asked him something like that, not even a human. He thought of Earth, of burning cities and rebuilding hands, of laughter after loss. "Because," he said finally, "we want to live. No matter how hard it gets, no matter how dark it becomes, we fight to see another sunrise." The Queen was silent for a long moment. Then she smiled, a slow, unsettling smile. "Perhaps that is what we have lost," she murmured. "Your spirit. Your fire," the crowd whispered, their voices echoing like wind through stone. Elias felt all their eyes on him. The Queen rose from her throne. She was nearly 3 meters tall, her movements graceful as flowing water. "Captain Elias Ward," she declared, her voice echoing through the hall. "You stand before the Zareth Dominion not as a prisoner, but as a mystery. I wish to learn what gives your species such stubborn life." He frowned slightly. "Learn? How?" Her smile deepened. "You will teach us. You will show us what it means to be human. Refuse, and your species will be forgotten among the stars." Elias's pulse quickened. "You can't threaten all of humanity just to satisfy curiosity." "Threaten?" The Queen's voice softened, almost sad. "No, Captain. I offer a chance. The Zareth are dying. Our hearts are cold. Our songs are empty. Perhaps your kind holds the cure." The court erupted in shocked murmurs. Several nobles shouted in protest. "Blasphemy! Humans are beasts. We cannot learn from animals." The Queen raised her hand. Silence fell instantly. "Enough," she commanded. "The human speaks truth. I feel it." She turned back to Elias, her violet eyes burning with strange light. "You will stay among us, Captain. You will answer my questions. You will let me see what you call hope." Elias took a deep breath. He could feel his crew's lives depending on his next words. He met her gaze and said quietly, "If it saves my people, and maybe yours, I'll cooperate, but I won't be your toy." The Queen's smile flickered. For a moment it almost looked genuine. Defiance, courage, pain, yes. You are human indeed. Then she stepped closer, lowering her voice so only he could hear. "Do not fear me, Elias Ward. Fear what happens if I fail to understand you." Before he could reply, she turned and sat back on her throne. "Take the human to the royal quarters. Feed him, watch him. Tomorrow, his lessons begin." Guards escorted him away as the court's whispers followed him out like ghosts. Later, alone in a silver room that seemed to breathe, Elias sat on the edge of an alien bed. The walls pulsed softly like veins under skin. He stared at his reflection in a mirror made of liquid light. What did she mean? "If I fail to understand you?" Somewhere deep inside the ship he could feel the heartbeat of the Zareth vessel. Slow, ancient, dying. He didn't know yet that this meeting, this strange request, would change not just his fate, but the future of both species forever. Captain Elias Ward barely slept that night. The room the aliens gave him looked beautiful but strange. Walls that shimmered like silver skin, air that smelled like lightning, and soft blue light that pulsed gently, as if the ship itself was alive. The bed was smooth and warm, but his mind refused to rest. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the Queen's glowing eyes staring through him. Her words echoed in his head. "You will teach us what it means to be human." What could that even mean? These aliens were centuries ahead of humanity, technologically, socially, maybe even spiritually. What could he, a simple fleet captain, teach an empire that ruled half the stars? When the door opened the next morning, Elias rose quickly. A Zareth guard entered, tall, armored, expressionless. Beside her floated a hovering orb that hummed softly. The Queen summons you, the guard said. Elias straightened his uniform, nodded and followed. They walked through long, glowing corridors filled with strange symbols that moved like living ink. The air was warm, vibrating with a soft hum. Zareth citizens stopped to stare at him, some with curiosity, some with open disgust. Elias ignored them and focused on the path ahead. Finally, the guard led him into the Queen's court, a massive hall filled with alien nobles. The room glittered with light, reflecting off crystal pillars that rose like trees. Floating platforms carried advisors and warriors, their glowing eyes fixed on the human, and at the far end, on her throne of radiant energy, sat Queen Serathia. She looked the same as before, tall, graceful, her body half light, half matter. When she spoke, her voice echoed through the hall like music carried by wind. "Captain Elias Ward," she said. "You have rested?" Elias bowed his head slightly, as much as anyone can after being captured by an alien empire. A ripple of laughter, cold and mocking, ran through the nobles. But the Queen raised her hand and the sound stopped instantly. "You still have your spirit," she said. "Good, you will need it." She gestured and the throne's light dimmed slightly. "Come closer." Elias stepped forward. The ground beneath his boots was glass-like, reflecting his face beside hers. When he stood only a few steps away, he could feel the strange energy that radiated from her, like standing near a star, yet not burning. "Tell me," Serathia said, "what is humanity's greatest strength?" Elias blinked. "Strength? Yes, you are fragile creatures. Your bodies break easily, your lives are short. And yet your kind spreads, survives, even thrives. Why?" Elias thought for a moment. "Because we adapt. We face storms, wars, disasters, and somehow we rebuild. It's what we do." Serathia leaned forward, studying him with intense eyes. "Adaptation through suffering," she murmured. "Pain as teacher, interesting," a noble interrupted. "Your Majesty, this creature speaks of chaos and war. It is not strength, it is madness." The Queen turned her gaze on him. The noble froze. "Silence, Lord Vethar. You speak without understanding." The hall went quiet. Elias felt the tension but stood tall. Serathia continued. "Your species evolved among death worlds, yes? Planets filled with storms, beasts, and fire?" Elias nodded. "Earth isn't gentle, no. But it's home. We learn to love it even with all its danger. To love. What tries to kill you?" Her voice softened, curious. "Strange. The Zareth have forgotten that feeling." Elias frowned. "Forgotten? Our world was once wild too," the Queen said slowly. "But we tamed it. We shaped it until there was no more danger. No more pain. No more struggle. And now, no more life." She rose from her throne, her form glowing brighter. The entire hall bowed low as she walked past Elias, circling him like a teacher studying her student. "Our people are sterile, Captain Ward. Our children are few, our hearts are empty. We live long lives, but without purpose. We are fading." Her words hung heavy in the vast hall. Elias looked at her, truly seeing her for the first time, not as a ruler, but as someone desperate for meaning. "You think humans can help you fix that?" he asked quietly. "I think humans are that," she said. "You burn bright even when it hurts. You fight even when you cannot win. I wish to understand that fire." Elias folded his arms. "You can't study life like a lab experiment, Your Majesty. You have to live it." The nobles gasped at his boldness, but Serathia only smiled faintly. "Then teach me," she said. "Teach my people what life means to your kind." Elias hesitated. "And if I refuse?" Her smile faded. "Then I will order your ship destroyed and your species will be banned from Zareth space for eternity. You will vanish and history will forget you." Silence filled the court. Elias looked around the hall, the hundreds of glowing eyes, the alien beauty, the cold perfection, and then back at her. Finally, he said, "Fine, I'll teach you. But you must promise my crew's safety." "Done," she said immediately. He blinked. "Just like that?" "A queen's word is absolute," Serathia said. "Your people will be honored guests for as long as you remain." "Useful," she motioned to her aides. "Prepare a chamber for him. Begin observation protocols." Before Elias could speak again, she added softly, "Do not fear, Captain. I do not wish to harm you. I wish to learn from you." The next few days passed in strange rhythm. Elias was not kept in chains, but he was never left alone. Wherever he went, glowing orbs and silent guards followed. He ate strange, glowing food that felt like air yet filled his stomach. He spent hours in long discussions with Zareth scholars. They asked endless questions. Why do humans dream? Why do you cry when sad? Why do you risk your lives for others? Elias tried to explain using simple words. He spoke about family, friendship, music, and love. But the aliens only tilted their heads as if trying to understand a sound they couldn't hear. Emotions, one of them said, are inefficient. Maybe, Elias replied, but without them, we're not really alive. Their confusion only grew. On the fourth day, the Queen summoned him again, but this time, it was private. The hall was dark except for soft golden light that surrounded her throne. She looked almost human in that glow, though her eyes still burned with violet fire. You speak of love often, she said. Explain it, Elias paused. Love is caring for someone more than yourself. It's what makes us fight, survive, and sometimes forgive. Forgive? Yes, even when someone hurts you. The Queen looked down, silent for a moment. We do not forgive among the Zareth. We remember, always. Elias smiled sadly. Maybe that's why your hearts grew cold. Her eyes flickered. You speak boldly, human. I speak honestly, he said. You wanted to learn, remember? For the first time, she laughed softly, a sound like wind through chimes. You are either brave or foolish, probably both, Elias replied. For a moment, the two simply looked at each other. An ancient queen and a mortal man, standing between two civilizations. Then she turned away, her voice quieter. You said humans endure because of hope. Tell me, what is hope? Elias thought about his homeworld, about rain on metal roofs, about children laughing after storms, about soldiers helping each other after battles. Hope, he said slowly, is believing tomorrow can be better, even if today is terrible. Sarathia's expression softened. Tomorrow, we have forgotten what that means. Later that night, as Elias walked back to his quarters, he overheard two Zareth officers whispering in a nearby corridor. The Queen grows weak, one hissed. She listens to this human animal. It is dangerous, another replied. Her compassion will doom us. The council is already whispering of replacement. Elias froze listening. A coup against the Queen. He quietly slipped away before they could sense him. Back in his quarters, he sat in silence. The Queen's empire was clearly divided. Some wanted to learn from humans, but others wanted the Queen gone. Maybe, he thought, she wasn't just studying him. Maybe she was testing whether humanity's way of life was worth saving, or whether violence would always win. He looked out the window, where alien ships floated in perfect formation. Beautiful, but lifeless. If the Queen fell, he knew what would happen next. The Zareth would crush humanity out of fear. The next morning, when the guards came for him, Elias was ready. He entered the Queen's chamber again, but this time, he saw the fatigue in her eyes, the faint flicker of light in her form, fading slightly. He realized she was dying slowly, just like her people. Your Majesty, he said carefully, I heard something last night. She turned to him, curious. And what was that, Captain? That not everyone agrees with what you're doing. That some think compassion is weakness. Her lips curved in a sad smile. Then they understand nothing of strength. Elias took a step closer. You're risking everything for this just to understand humanity. Why? She looked up at him, and for the first time her voice trembled. Because, Captain Ward, I envy you. I envy your fire. I envy that your kind still believes in something. The Zareth have forgotten how to feel alive. He didn't know what to say. For a long moment neither spoke. Then she whispered, Perhaps your visit is not punishment but destiny. Captain Elias Ward stood on a balcony overlooking the alien capital of Zareth Prime. The view was both beautiful and strange. Towers made of crystal rose into the clouds, glowing softly in shades of blue and violet. Streams of light floated through the air like rivers carrying energy or perhaps messages. Everything looked perfect, polished, controlled, and yet beneath that perfection Elias could feel something missing. Life. The people below moved in silence, their faces calm but empty. No laughter, no emotion, no sound of chaos, just quiet order. He whispered to himself, A city without noise is a city without soul. Behind him, a voice replied, Noise is chaos. Chaos leads to ruin. Elias turned to see Advisor Velis, one of the Queen's closest ministers. Her silver eyes regarded him coldly. Maybe, Elias said, But chaos also means freedom. It means choice. Velis frowned. You humans worship imperfection. We call it living, Elias replied simply. The advisor said nothing more and left him alone. Elias sighed. Every day here felt like walking a tightrope between peace and danger, the Queen had ordered him to begin cultural instruction. It was supposed to be peaceful, a sharing of knowledge, but Elias knew it was more than that. The Queen was testing if humanity's way of life could save her dying civilization. So each morning, in a large glowing chamber filled with Zareth scholars, Elias stood before dozens of alien eyes and spoke. He told them about Earth, the blue oceans, the storms, the laughter of children, the warmth of fire in winter. At first they didn't understand. Why do humans waste time staring at sunsets? One asked. Why do you sing? Asked another. Your songs serve no purpose. Why do you paint? Said a third. You create things that do not feed or protect you. Elias smiled at their confusion. Because those things feed our hearts. We create beauty because it reminds us life is worth living. The aliens stared silently, their glowing eyes unreadable. One of them finally said, Emotions make you weak. Elias looked directly at him. No, emotions make us strong enough to care, to protect others, to stand up when everything falls apart. The hall fell quiet. For the first time, a few Zareth bowed their heads, not out of obedience but out of respect. Days passed, and Elias began to notice small changes. Some Zareth started greeting each other instead of walking silently. A few even tried to smile, awkwardly mimicking human expressions. Once he found a young scholar staring at a hollow image of Earth's oceans. When Elias approached, the alien said softly, It looks free. Elias nodded. It is, sometimes too much. But that's what makes it real. That night the Queen sent for him again. He entered her private chamber, a vast circular room filled with floating lights and gentle music. Sarathia sat near a window, her form dimmer than before. You have stirred my people, Captain Ward, she said softly. They speak of your stories, your music, your madness, and is that a good thing? Elias asked. Perhaps, she said, gazing out into the endless city. Perhaps not. Some say you poison our purity, that I am a fool for listening to a human. Do you believe that? He asked quietly. Sarathia looked at him, and for a brief moment the powerful Queen looked tired. I believe my people are dying, and if a spark of madness can save them, I will embrace it. Elias smiled slightly. Then maybe there's hope for both of us. Her eyes softened. Hope, that word again. You humans wield it like a weapon. It's the only one that never runs out, he said. The next day, the tone of the court changed. Elias noticed fewer guards in the halls and more whispers in the shadows. When he entered the lecture chamber, half the seats were empty. He turned to one of the attending guards. Where is everyone? The guard hesitated. Many have refused to attend. They say your teachings offend the old ways. Elias sighed. The old ways are killing you. You should not say that aloud, the guard warned, but Elias didn't stop. He continued his sessions even with fewer listeners. He told stories of human courage, the firefighters who ran into burning buildings, the scientists who gave their lives to cure diseases, the explorers who died reaching for the stars. Every story carried the same message. Humanity survives because it refuses to stop caring, and though many Zareth stayed away, some listened with shining eyes. One evening, as Elias returned to his quarters, he found a small crystal sphere left at his door. When he touched it, it projected a tiny hologram of the Queen. Captain Ward, her voice said softly, meet me at the Garden of Silence. There is something you must see. He followed her message to a hidden chamber deep in the palace. When the doors opened, he gasped. Inside was a vast glowing garden, thousands of strange alien plants, their leaves shining like glass, their roots floating in air. In the center stood the Queen, her hands touching a dying flower. Its light flickered weakly. This was our world once, she said. Alive, wild, untamed. We tamed it too much. Now even beauty dies in silence. Elias walked closer. Why show me this? Because I think I understand now, she said quietly. Your people live because you never stop fighting against decay. You accept pain as part of life. We tried to remove pain and killed life itself. He looked around. Then you can bring it back. Change things. The queen turned to him, her expression unreadable. I want to, but many will not allow it. They fear change more than death. Elias crossed his arms. Then we'll teach them fear's opposite, which is hope, he said. The queen smiled faintly. Always hope. That night, a loud explosion shook the palace. Elias rushed to the balcony. Far below, smoke rose from one of the lower towers. Sirens howled across the city. Guards ran through the corridors, shouting orders in the Zareth tongue. He grabbed one as they passed. What happened? Attack! The guard shouted. A rebellion. Military factions have turned against the queen. Elias's blood ran cold. They're moving against her? Yes, they claim she has been corrupted by the human. Before Elias could react, a violent tremor rocked the building. The floor split slightly and lights flickered. He turned toward the queen's chamber and ran. The corridors were chaos now. Zareth soldiers fighting each other. Flashes of light weapons slicing through the air. The once perfect palace was cracking apart under its own war. Elias fought his way through smoke and falling debris until he reached the throne hall. Inside, the queen stood surrounded by her loyal guards. Across from her, a group of armed generals faced her with cold determination. At their head stood General Kareth, a towering warrior with armor like molten silver. Your Majesty, he shouted, you have betrayed the Dominion. You let this human infect us with weakness. Sarathia's voice thundered across the hall. Weakness? You call compassion weakness? You would rather rule corpses than save souls. Kareth raised his weapon. We were strong before him. We will be strong again. He pointed at Elias. Kill the human. The soldiers raised their weapons, but the queen stepped in front of Elias. Touch him, she said coldly, and you defy me. Kareth sneered. Then I defy you. A blast of energy erupted, bright and deafening. The queen raised a barrier, deflecting most of it, but the shockwave threw Elias to the ground. He saw her stumble, her light flickering. Sarathia, he shouted, running to her side. Go, she gasped. They will kill you. Escape. Not without you. Elias grabbed her arm, but her guards pulled him away. Protect the queen, one shouted. Get her to the court chamber. As they fled through collapsing corridors, Elias heard the rebellion echoing through the city. Explosions shook the palace. The once quiet world was now screaming. He realized the irony. The Zareth had finally learned emotion. But it came in the form of rage. They reached a sealed chamber deep underground, the throne core, where the queen's life force connected to the heart of the empire. Sarathia leaned heavily against the wall, her form flickering like a dying flame. Elias supported her, his voice urgent. You have to stop this war before it spreads. It may already be too late, she whispered. But perhaps there is still something I can do. She touched the wall and symbols of light appeared. There is a failsafe, a pulse that can end all conflict by erasing the corrupted minds. But it will cost me everything. Elias shook his head. No, there has to be another way. Sometimes to save life, something must die. She smiled weakly. Your lessons were not wasted, human. You reminded me that sacrifice can also be love. Before he could stop her, she pressed her hand into the glowing wall. Light surrounded her, rising like fire. Sarathia, Elias shouted. Her voice echoed through the chamber. Tell them, we lived again. The light burst outward, blinding everything. When the brilliance faded, the palace was silent. The rebellion's noise was gone. The angry voices, the chaos, all ended in one peaceful stillness. The queen's body was gone. Only her crown of light remained, floating gently where she stood. Elias fell to his knees, his heart heavy. He picked up the crown, and for a moment he thought he heard her voice whisper, Thank you, human. He looked out through the shattered walls of the palace. The sky was glowing red from the fires of battle, but in that light, he saw something new. Zareth civilians helping each other, not out of order, but out of care. Maybe her sacrifice had changed something after all. Captain Elias Ward stood on the balcony of the alien palace, watching the dying glow of the Zareth sun. The light was fading, weak and trembling like an old candle. The air around him shimmered with strange particles, and the horizon rippled with energy waves. It had been weeks since he was captured. Weeks since Queen Sarathia had told him her people were dying. And now he finally understood what she meant. The Zareth homeworld was beautiful, but sick. Entire cities floated in the air, powered by ancient bioengines that were now failing. Massive towers of crystal flickered as their energy veins dimmed. The skies were full of cracks, lightning without sound, as if reality itself was breaking. Elias sighed. "Even the stars here are dying," he murmured. Behind him, the Queen's voice answered softly, "And soon we will follow." He turned to see her approaching. She wore no crown today, only a flowing robe that shimmered like moonlight. Her face looked tired, almost human in its sorrow. "Your world is beautiful," Elias said quietly, "but it feels empty." Sarathia nodded. "It was not always so. Once the Zareth were filled with song. We were creators, dreamers, explorers. But as our power grew, we forgot why we lived. We began to see life as nothing more than energy to be consumed." She looked toward the broken horizon. "We reached the peak of our evolution, and then we stopped feeling." Elias crossed his arms. "You lost your emotions." She turned to him, her violet eyes glowing faintly. "We lost our hearts, the connection that binds a soul to its purpose. You humans still have it. That is why you fascinate me." He studied her carefully. "You think humans can teach you to feel again?" "I believe," she said slowly, "that within your chaos lies the spark we lost." They walked together through the palace gardens. Strange plants glowed with inner light. Each step produced soft ripples underfoot, like walking on liquid glass. "Do your people know you brought me here?" Elias asked. "Only my inner circle," she replied. "Many already doubt me. They believe the Zareth should rule by fear, not faith." "Sounds familiar," Elias muttered. "We've got people like that too." The Queen smiled faintly. "Perhaps all intelligent species face that struggle." As they walked, they passed alien statues depicting tall, elegant figures holding orbs of light. Elias noticed that their faces were blank. No eyes, no expressions. "Why don't your statues have faces?" he asked. "Because we forgot what faces meant," she said softly. "We forgot what it was like to smile, to cry, to feel joy or loss. Our art became hollow just as we did." Elias stopped. "Then maybe that's your real sickness. Not your machines dying, your hearts did first." The Queen looked at him with quiet surprise. "You speak as if you understand us." "I don't," he admitted. "But I know what happens when people stop caring. I've seen it on Earth, war, greed, hate. But no matter how bad it gets, someone always stands up again. Someone always feels." Sarathia gazed at him for a long moment. Then she said, "That is what I wanted to see. Not your weapons, not your science. Your spirit." Later that night, Elias was summoned to a vast chamber deep beneath the palace. The walls here pulsed with darker energy, and strange whispers echoed through the air. 2 guards led him to a massive crystal column that glowed weakly in the center of the room. Inside it was a swirling mass of light and shadow, alive but fading. "This," the Queen said as she entered behind him, "is the heart of Zareth." Elias frowned. "What is it?" "It is what binds all of us together. Every Zareth mind, every soul connected through this living core. It is our strength and our weakness." He stepped closer. The energy pulsed slowly, almost like a heartbeat. "It's dying," he said. "Yes," she whispered. "For centuries now. When the heart fades, our people lose their emotions, their will to live. We have tried everything, science, rituals, even forbidden fusion with stars. Nothing restores it." Elias looked at her. "And you think humans can?" She turned to him, her face calm but desperate. "I do not know. But when you spoke of hope, of fighting to live, I felt something stir inside me." For the first time in centuries, he blinked. "You felt something?" "Yes," she said softly. "A warmth. Small, fragile, but real. That is why I brought you here." Elias took a deep breath. "So what do you want me to do?" "I want you to touch the heart," she said, "and let it see what it means to be human." He stared at her, shocked. "You want me to connect with that thing?" "It will not harm you," she said, though even her voice held uncertainty. "But it may change you." He hesitated. "Queen Sarathia, I'm not sure this is a good idea." "Neither am I," she admitted. "But if we do nothing, my people will vanish. And perhaps your humanity holds the key we need." Elias looked at the glowing core again. It pulsed weakly like a dying heart. He thought of his crew, of Earth, of the promise he made to help them to survive. Finally, he nodded. "All right. I'll try." The Queen stepped closer, raising her hand. A shimmer of energy surrounded him. The air thickened and the lights dimmed. "Place your hand on the heart," she said softly, "and think of what drives you to live." Elias slowly reached out. The surface of the crystal was warm, alive. The moment his fingers touched it, a surge of energy shot through him. His vision went white. Suddenly, he was standing in a storm of light. Memories, voices, and emotions flooded through him. Rage, sorrow, joy, fear. Countless lives, countless minds. He saw cities rise and fall, worlds burn, stars fade. Then he heard the Queen's voice echo inside his mind. "Show me what it means to be human." Elias closed his eyes. He thought of his crew, of Mara laughing on the bridge, of Earth's blue oceans, of children running through the streets of New London, of humanity's endless struggle to survive, to love, to rebuild. He whispered, "We fight, we fall, but we always stand again." A brilliant light erupted from the heart. The room shook violently. The guards shouted as the crystal flared, blinding everyone. Elias felt something tear through him, half pain, half pure emotion. He cried out, not from agony but from the overwhelming rush of feeling. Then everything went still. When Elias opened his eyes, he was lying on the floor. The heart of Zareth glowed brighter than before, its pulses strong and rhythmic again. The Queen stood nearby, her face glowing faintly with warmth. "It worked," she whispered. "I can feel it." "The heart is alive again," Elias groaned, pushing himself up. "What happened?" "You shared your spirit," she said. "The heart remembered what it was like to feel through you." "It's awakening," he blinked at her. "So what now?" But before she could answer, alarms echoed through the palace. The walls turned red and the air vibrated with energy. A Zareth officer rushed into the chamber. "Your Majesty, the council has rebelled. They claim you have corrupted the heart with human impurity." Sarathia's eyes hardened. They would rather die than change. She turned to Elias. "We must get to the command tower. If they destroy the heart, all my people will perish, including me." Elias stood, still dizzy but determined. "Then we'd better move." They raced through glowing corridors as explosions rocked the palace. Alien soldiers clashed, their weapons firing bolts of light. Some of the Queen's loyal guards fought beside them, buying time. Elias grabbed a fallen blaster, covering her flank. "Guess this peace mission just turned into a war." Sarathia gave a faint smile even as chaos raged around them. Humans always find battle, even in peace. They reached the upper hall where the great command chamber loomed. But a group of rebel generals stood blocking the entrance, their armor glowing crimson. "Queen Sarathia," their leader shouted. "You have doomed us. You let a human infect our heart." The Queen's voice was calm but powerful. "I saved it. You are too blind to see. Then you will die with your new pet." They raised their weapons. Energy blasts filled the air. Elias dove forward, firing back. The corridor shook with light and sound. One bolt grazed the Queen's shoulder, but she kept moving, her energy flaring with fury. With a single wave of her hand, she unleashed a surge that knocked the rebels aside. Elias ran to her. "You okay?" "I will live," she said through clenched teeth. "But this is only the beginning. The council will not stop." He looked at the glowing heart through the distant wall. "Then we fight for it. For your people. For both of ours." The Queen met his eyes, and for a brief moment there was no alien and human, only two beings fighting for survival. "Then let us fight," she whispered. Together. Outside, the dying sun flared again, brighter than before, as if the heart of Zareth had breathed new life into the planet itself. But rebellion spread like wildfire, and the fate of two civilizations now rested on a fragile alliance between a human captain and an alien queen who had just begun to remember how to feel. The palace shook with explosions as smoke and blue fire filled the sky. From the balcony, Captain Elias Ward could see the Zareth capital tearing itself apart. Towers of crystal were collapsing and airships burned as rebel forces swarmed the skies. The rebellion had begun and it was spreading fast. Elias gripped the railing. "They're destroying their own city," he said. "They'd rather burn everything than change." Beside him, Queen Sarathia stood tall despite the wound on her shoulder. The faint glow of her energy flickered, her strength draining. "The council believes the heart is corrupted. They think killing me will save them." "Then we have to make them see the truth," Elias said. The Queen turned to him, her eyes full of sorrow and pride. "You still believe logic can save them?" "Even now," Elias smiled faintly. "No, but hope can." She tilted her head, curious. "Hope? Yeah," he said. "That's what keeps humans alive. When reason fails, when fear wins, hope keeps us standing." For the first time, Sarathia's lips curved in a real smile. "Then perhaps that is what I must become. Not their ruler, but their hope." The two raced through the corridors of the damaged palace, surrounded by her few remaining loyal guards. The walls pulsed red with warning lights. Alien glyphs flashed across the walls as the shipmind of the palace cried out in pain. Elias carried a plasma rifle he had taken from a fallen soldier. The weapon hummed softly in his hands, alien but powerful. "Where's the heart chamber?" he asked. "Deep below," Sarathia replied. "The rebels will strike there first." As they ran, they passed injured Zareth citizens hiding in the halls. Some looked at the Queen with fear, others with confusion. But one small Zareth child, glowing faintly blue, reached out as they passed. Sarathia stopped briefly and knelt. The child looked terrified. "Are you the reason the skies are falling?" the little one asked. The Queen's face softened. "No, little star. I am the reason they will rise again." She touched the child's forehead gently, and a faint warmth spread through the corridor. For a moment, everyone around them paused. Even Elias felt it, a calm energy like sunlight after rain. Then she stood. "Let's go." The deeper they went, the louder the echoes of battle became. The sound of energy blasts rattled through the halls. When they reached the final descent, the chamber doors were already shaking under rebel fire. Elias crouched behind a pillar. "They're already here," he said. Sarathia's eyes glowed. "They must not reach the heart. If they destroy it, every Zareth will die instantly." Elias nodded. "Then we hold the line." She looked at him. "You would fight for a people not your own?" He smiled. "You said it yourself, we're connected now. Humanity doesn't walk away from its allies." Her expression softened. "You are a strange creature, Elias Ward." "Humans usually are," he said, raising his rifle. The chamber doors burst open. Dozens of rebels stormed in, their armor burning red with fury. The leader, General Varthan, stepped forward, tall, menacing, his eyes glowing with hatred. "There she is," he roared. "The traitor who polluted our heart." He pointed his staff toward her. "End her." Energy bolts filled the air. Elias rolled aside, firing back. 2 rebels fell instantly. The Queen lifted her hands, unleashing waves of pure energy that knocked enemies back like leaves in a storm. But there were too many. The loyal guards were being pushed back. Elias shouted, "We can't hold them forever." Sarathia closed her eyes. "Then I will end this." Before Elias could stop her, she stepped forward, her entire body glowing like a rising star. "Stop," she commanded, her voice echoing across the chamber. The energy waves froze midair, and every rebel halted as if time itself had listened. "I am your queen," she said. "I gave my life for our people. I bled for our world, and now you wish to destroy the one thing that can save us?" General Varthan snarled. "You have poisoned us with human emotion. You turned us into weak-feeling creatures." Sarathia stepped closer. "Weakness?" she repeated softly. "You call it weakness to feel love? To feel sorrow? To care?" Varthan raised his staff. "We were gods. Now we are nothing. Then perhaps gods were never meant to live forever," she said. He fired. The blast struck her in the chest. "No!" Elias shouted, diving forward. He fired back, hitting Varthan squarely. The general fell, his armor cracking. The rebels hesitated. The Queen collapsed to her knees, glowing light spilling from her wound like liquid silver. Elias caught her as she fell. "Stay with me. Don't you dare die." She looked up at him weakly. "The heart must be sealed. Before it collapses," he shook his head. "You're not going anywhere." "We'll get you help." Her hand gripped his. "Elias, you brought life back to my people. But if the heart overloads, it will destroy this world." "I must join with it to stabilize it," he froze. "Join with it? You mean die?" Her eyes shimmered sadly. "Not die. Become one with the heart. Become the song that guides my people." Elias's voice broke. "There has to be another way." "There isn't," she said softly. "This is what it means to feel, Elias. To sacrifice for something greater than yourself." "You taught me that." He clenched his fists. "Then let me go with you." She smiled faintly. "Humans are brave, but your path lies elsewhere. Your people will need you." The chamber trembled violently. The heart was glowing out of control, its pulses becoming chaotic. The rebels began to flee in terror. Sarathia looked at him one last time. "Tell them." We remembered. Then she rose, floating toward the glowing crystal at the center of the room. Energy surrounded her like 1,000 ribbons of light. Elias shouted, "Sarathia!" But the sound was drowned out by the roar of power. She placed her hands on the heart. Her light merged with it, slowly, beautifully. The crystal flared brighter and brighter until the whole chamber was blinding white. Then came silence. When Elias woke, he was lying on the ground. The chamber was calm now. The heart glowed with steady light, warm, alive, peaceful. The rebels were gone. Some had fallen to their knees, weeping. Others stared in awe. The queen was nowhere to be seen, but her voice echoed softly in the air. Elias Ward, do not grieve. I am not gone. I am within them. Within you. He looked at the heart. For a moment he thought he saw her face in the light, smiling. Tears burned his eyes. Rest well, Your Majesty. Then he whispered, You finally learned how to feel. Days later, the Zareth rebellion ended. With the heart stable and alive again, their emotions returned fully. They felt grief, love, and regret for what they had done. Many knelt before Elias, calling him the Lightbringer, the human who restored their queen and their soul. He rejected the title. I didn't save her, he said quietly. She saved you. Under her new presence within the heart, the Zareth began to rebuild. Their skies cleared, their energy flows revived. The planet started to heal. Elias and his crew were honored guests, though all they wanted was to return home. On the day of departure, he stood once more before the heart. It glowed softly, the pulse steady, almost like a heartbeat. He spoke quietly. We'll go back to Earth now, but I'll remember you, Sarathia. You showed me that even gods can learn from humans. The heart pulsed once like an answer. Elias smiled sadly. Goodbye, Queen of Zareth. As the Horizon Spear rose into orbit, the planet below shone with renewed light. The dying sun had turned golden again, and for the first time in centuries, the Zareth sang. Their voices carried through the void, a song of hope and rebirth. Mara Chen looked at Elias on the bridge. Captain, course set for home? He nodded slowly. Yes, take us home. As the ship jumped to light speed, Elias looked out at the stars. Somewhere in that glowing world behind them, a part of him remained. A spark of humanity shared with a dying race that learned to live again.